The pterodophytes, these are the first true terrestrial vascular plants. The zygote develops into well-differentiated sporophyte, which may be homosporous or heterosporous. Gymnosperms are non-flowering plants and which bear naked seeds. The seeds are not covered by a fruiting structure. So gymnosperms are further classified into three classes, namely Psychotopsida, Coniferopsida and then Nitopsida. Hello dear students, welcome back to session 4 of this chapter called Plant Kingdom. Myself, B. Shobharani from the Department of Biology, Vidhyaashram Pre-University College, the Temple of Excellence. What did we study in the last session? Hope you remember we started off with a very important group of plants called bryophytes, and we studied about the liverworts and the mosses. Moving on to the next group of plant, that is the pterodophytes. Now let us understand about this pterodophytes. What are the characteristic features of pterodophytes, and also a very important group of plants called gymnosperms. As I keep telling, and I have also said that 3/4 of the plants that are found on this planet Earth are angiosperms. So moving on to the pterodophytes, these are the first true terrestrial vascular plants. So as we have already come across bryophytes, they are called as amphibians of the plant kingdom, where they require water to carry on the process of reproduction. So pterodophytes, here you can see the beautiful picture of a fern. See, this whole plant kingdom, the word itself will tell you, green in color. So you can see the beautiful plants, how beautiful they are with that green color. So pterodophytes are the first true terrestrial plant, that is, they are the one which is found dominantly on land, and they are vascular plants. What do you mean by vascular plants? That which have xylem and phloem. That which have xylem and phloem. What is xylem? Xylem is a water conducting tissue. Phloem is a food conducting tissue, and these two tissues put together, they are called as vascular tissues. And such plants which have xylem and phloem are called vascular plants. And now let us see what are the characteristic features of these pterodophytes. They are found in cool, damp, shady places. So pterodophytes are usually found in cool, damp and shady places. Next, here we can see the sporophyte stage is more dominant stage in the life cycle of pterodophytes. So as you know, there are two stages. One is called the sporophyte, the other one is called the gametophyte. So here, the sporophyte stage is the most predominant stage in the life cycle of pterodophytes. Here, the sporophyte is differentiated into true root, stem and leaves. So here we can see that the whole of the sporophyte is differentiated into plant parts, that is the root, stem and the leaves. And very unique feature of these pterodophytes is that the young leaves show a very important thing called Cersenate Vernation. What do you mean by Cersenate? Anyhow, I'm going to show it in the next slide. So the leaves will curl off like this. They coil like this, and the tip of the leaf is protected. So young leaves show very important feature called Cersenate Vernation. What is this? So here you can see the leaf coils off like this, right? And the tip is protected. As you know how important this leaf is for a plant body to carry on the process of photosynthesis. So what is Cersenate Vernation? The coiled arrangement of young leaves in fern fiddle heads is known as Cersenate Vernation. Anyhow, I'm going to show the picture of that Cersenate Vernation in the next slide. So what are pterodophytes? They are the first true terrestrial vascular plants, and they are found in cool, damp and shady places. The sporophyte stage is the most predominant stage in the life cycle of pterodophytes, and the sporophyte is differentiated into what? Into true, root, stem and leaves. And young leaves show what? Cersenate vernation. What do you mean by cersenate vernation? The coiled arrangement of young leaves in fern fiddle heads is known as cersenate vernation. Here you can see the cersenate vernation. Here you can see the coiled structure. So here you can see the tip is protected. Here the leaf tip is protected. So this is called Cersenate Vernation. Here you can see this is an equisetum. This is the picture of equisetum. So Cersenate Vernation protects the delicate leaf tips as they develop. So that is a very important feature in case of Pterodophytes. So here what will happen? The tip is protected. So the sporophyte bears sporangia present of the leaf-like structure called sporophylls. In some pterodophytes, sporophylls form compact structures called strobilus, or they are also referred to as cones, as you see in Selaginella and Equisetum. So the sporophyte, as I said, which is the more predominant life in the life cycle of these pterodophytes, is present like a leaf-like structure called sporophylls. And in some pterodophytes, sporophylls form what? Compact structure called strobilus or cone, like as you find in Selaginella and Equisetum. So here the sporangia produce spores by meiosis by the spore mother cells. Spore mother cell, SMC, that is spore mother cells. Here, the spores that are produced through the spore mother cells germinate, give rise to inconspicuous small multicellular gametophytes called prothallus. So, the spores that are produced through the sporophylls, here you can see that they germinate, giving rise to inconspicuous small multicellular gametophyte called prothallus. And here the gametophyte, the very word itself will tell you, the gametophyte will bear antheridia, which is the male reproductive part, male, and archegonia, which is the female reproductive part. Antheridia produce anthrozoid and archegonia produce egg. So as I said, the gametophyte bears antheridia, which is the male reproductive part of a pterodophyte, and antheridia produce anthrozoid and archegonia produce the egg. So after fertilization, the zygote develops into well-differentiated sporophyte, which may be homosporous or heterosporous, containing same spores. Heterosporous means different spores. So after fertilization, the zygote develops into well-differentiated sporophyte, which may be homosporous or heterosporous. So I repeat, the spores germinate to give rise to small multicellular gametophyte called what? Prothallus. The gametophyte bears what? Antheridia and archegonia. Antheridia produce what? Anthrozoids, that is the male gametes. And archegonia produce the egg, that is the female gamete. So after fertilization, zygote develops into well-differentiated sporophyte, which may be homosporous or heterosporous. And pterodophytes are further classified into 4 classes. That is Coelentopsida, example Coelotem, Lycopsida, that is Selaginella lycopodium, then Spinopsida, that is Equisetum, and Pteropsida, that is Pteris, Diopterus, Nephrolepis. These are the 4 important classes of pterodophytes. What are they? Coelentopsida, example Coelotem, Lycopsida, Selaginella lycopodium, then Spinopsida, that is Equisetum, Pteropsida, that is Pteris, Diopterus, Adiantum, and Nephrolepis. Here you can see in this beautiful picture that is about the Pteris. So moving on to the next group of plants, that is the Gymnosperms. The very word itself will tell you, as you know, the whole of the plant kingdom is divided into 2 divisions, division Gymnosperm and division Angiospermae. And as we know that Gymnosperms are non-flowering plants and which bear naked seeds. The seeds are not covered by a fruiting structure. So gymno means what? Naked. Sperma means seed. So these are the naked seeded plants in which the seeds are not enclosed within a fruit wall. So the seed does not have a fruit covering, right? So fruit wall, it is not having a fruit wall. And the plant body is a sporophyte, which includes medium size or tall trees and shrubs. So here the plant body is sporophyte, which might be a tall tree, or it might be a shrub, or it might be a medium size. For example, here you can see this cycas. You know, it is an ornamental plant. It is an ornamental plant. What do you mean by ornamental plant? That is the showy plant. And it is having a lot of economic value because many people buy this plant for showy purpose. That is for ornamentation, right? Like for keeping as an ornamental plant. So here the plant body is sporophyte, which includes medium size or tall trees or shrubs. And one of the gymnosperms, the giant redwood tree, that is sequoia. I'll show it to you in the next picture, is the tallest tree, is the tallest species of the gymnosperms. Then the sporophyte, as it is differentiated into the root, stem and leaves. So what are gymnosperms? Gymnosperms are nothing but naked seeded plants in which the seed don't have a definite fruiting structure, but it is naked, not covered with a fruit wall. And the plant body is sporophyte, which includes medium sized to tall trees and shrubs. For example, like cycas is a shrub. Then sequoia is the tallest tree. Then the sporophyte is differentiated into root, stem and leaves. The root, here you can see the pine tree also. Here you can see the root is taproot. And in some gymnosperms, the roots are associated with fungus, sometimes called mycorrhiza, like in pinus. And in some other, the roots are associated with cyanobacteria to form coralloid roots which help in nitrogen fixation. So like for example, in cycas, we come across these coralloid roots. So what are they? They are nothing but sometimes the roots are associated with fungus called mycorrhiza, like as we find in pinus, and in some others, roots are associated with cyanobacteria like blue-green algae to form coralloid roots like in cycas, mainly helping in nitrogen fixation. So here the gymnosperms are heterosporous, consists of two kinds of spores. So the gymnosperms are heterosporous as they produce two kinds of spores such as microspores and megaspores. Microspores produce the male gametes and megaspores produce the female gamete. The spores are produced in the sporangia which are borne on the sporophylls. Here you can see the microsporophyll contains microsporangia that produce microspores. Megasporophyll contains megasporangia that produce megaspore called ovule. So here the microspore develops into male gametophyte, while the megaspore develops into female gametophyte. So as I said, the microsporophylls contain what? Microsporangia that produce microspores, and megasporophyll contains megasporangia that produces the ovule. So microspore, as I said, it develops into male gametophyte, while the megaspore develops into female gametophyte. So here, what are the examples you are going to take? Here, as I said, the microspore develops into female gametophyte, and the gametophytes which undergo fertilization to form what? Zygote. So when the microsporophyll and megasporophyll produces a gamete, and after the fusion of the gametes, the zygote that is formed develops into an embryo and the ovule into seed. So these seeds, as I said, they are not covered by the fruit wall, hence the name naked seeds. So they are directly exposed without a fruiting wall or a fruiting structure, hence the naked seeds. Examples you can take cycas, pinus, neetum and sequoia. As I said, sequoia is the tallest tree. Then gymnosperms are further classified into three classes. What are they? Cycadopsida, that is cycas, Coniferopsida, that is pinus, then Nitopsida, that is neetum. So gymnosperms are further classified into three classes, namely Cycadopsida, Coniferopsida and then Nitopsida, that is neetum. This is the picture of a neetum. See how beautiful the fruits are, right? As I already said, the examples produce the male embryo. Here you can see the sequoia, the tallest tree. The tallest tree is sequoia. So in competitive exams, they'll ask which is the tallest tree. They'll give options. No, that you can answer that it is the sequoia tree. See, you can see how tall it is, right? Hope you have understood about the two very important groups of plants, namely Pterodophytes and Gymnosperms. I'll be back in the coming session with the last group of plants of the plant kingdom, that is Angiosperm. Till then, goodbye and thank you.